And she is Małgorzata Bonikowska. She's president at the Center for International Relations. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure as always. So let's start with the first question. What is the message that, when something like this happens in a country like the United States, what is the message that America's both allies and enemies are getting from it?
Well, the message is that despite that we are in the 21st century, America is back to the square one, where there was such tensions in the 60s, where Kennedy was assassinated as a president, where Ronald Reagan, as a newly elected president, was also there was an attack against him. So unfortunately, the tensions and the polarization now in the US society is going so deep that such actions are happening. It's a very worrying signal, and I think the Americans themselves did not realize that they are in this situation.
Do you think it could be seen as a sign of American weakness, that they can't get their own political house in order? How can they get involved internationally?
It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a deep crisis within the society. Why? Because the polarization went into such a direction that the verbal narrative, verbal radicalization of the language is now taking action. So something has to be done about that. And the American democracy, if America wants to, continue being an important country, has to just clean this mess at home. And I think that's the most important message to all the politicians, Donald Trump himself, because, in opinion of many, it's Donald Trump the reason of such a deep polarization. Himself, his language, his narrative, his lies, all this created, not now, it has been a while, several years, that it created such a deep problem. And of course, Democrats, to fight, also went into a very radical language. This is also something that the commentators mentioned, that the last comments and expose of Joe Biden against Trump and many other political of Democratic Party, of course, it's a fight against Donald Trump. So they use also radical language. All this means that just simple Americans who look all these debates and look at all these politicians, maybe they are not able to handle this, and they, follow their leaders and they take radical actions. And if you take into consideration that we are talking about a country where the guns are allowed, to be kept at home, and everybody can have it, actually, the pistols, the rifles, it's very, very worrying. And of course, the future of America will depend on how they will handle this crisis.
Indeed. What could American politicians, or the political classes, if you like, do to bring down the temperature of this rhetoric?
Well, in a way, Donald Trump is hurt because of his own style of narrative. He jumped into politics with a very radical language, which maybe encourages also people to more radical actions. Of course, now we are having somebody who shot him, meaning that also on the other side, there are some people who follow this narrative. But something on both sides has to be done to calm down the people. The people should follow the leaders, and the leaders now, if they are attacked, like Donald Trump himself has to think about his own position. He could have been shot. So they have to think about if they want that kind of, not only politics, but that kind of threat against their own future, because no one wants to be in politics if it's so dangerous. It can happen then another time against another politician as well. So I think that's the major discussion which has to be done on the top of political parties.
Indeed. So there's some time for introspection within political circles. Now, Małgorzata, the elections are coming up, the presidential elections in November, and of course before that, the conventions of the two main two main parties. Let's start with the Democrat Party. Who do you expect to be on the ticket?
Well, that's a very good question at that moment. From one side, as of now, we stopped discussing Biden's performance. No one now is focusing at the moment at his age or at his, physical ability to be a candidate. But the question will come back because especially when we see Donald Trump, showing the strength and saying fight, fight, fight after just a moment after he was almost shot dead. That's really impressive for those who vote Republicans, and maybe for many of these undecisive people, it will be just an example that yes, this person is really strong enough to be a president, and it can lead our country. So for the Democrats now, the most important question is number one, if Joe Biden can continue. A lot depends on how he handles this moment. But if to change him, that's the only moment. That's the last moment to do it. And if they want to use this moment to change the narrative, to present a new person, who can the new person could be? And the only solution could be Kamala Harris as a vice president. But she is a woman, and she's a woman of color. So it's a very tough decision for the Democratic Party if this is the moment for such a candidate, if this kind of candidate can really win over Trump. So I think there will be a lot of very quick surveys done in order just to find out if this replacement will be worth doing.
Right. Well, I mean, Obama, of course, was a man of colour, and Hillary Clinton, as a woman, got very close to the presidency as well, right? So, anyway, we shall see. And once we know the results, we'd love to have you back, Małgorzata. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.